Hello. In one of the earlier videos, we already used the inventory exceptions news reporter. But now, what actually is news? What are the reporters trying to tell you? This video will explain the news concept and how it relates to other concepts in Outperform Planning. News is generated for all those situations in your plan that if you give attention to it, you can release value. You can defend against threats or grab an opportunity. And in either way, you improve the bottom line of your company. News also needs regular refreshing because it's based on the life plan, and the life plan is constantly evolving. Let's get going. Let's start Outperform Planning. And we are presented with the dashboard. And that's on purpose because I wanted to explain to you that you can configure that. You can decide whether you see the dashboard or the news as the first opening bid. And then what is the difference between the dashboard and the news? Look at your dashboard as sort of the state of the union. It paints a total picture of your supply chain. But after you've received or listened to the State of the Union, next morning you open the newspaper, and that's when the more day-to-day, the operational perspective on the overall state of the union is presented to you. It has news on your region, on your state, on your country, on certain topics. It has news on politics, it has news on sports, and likewise we have news on different aspects of the supply chain. We have the inventory exceptions, we have sales plan at the product level, we have something about shelf life, unused inventory, and there are also some news reports on data related topics. Every news reporter comes with these two bars, and I'd like to explain those. This sales plan at product level has detected 10 news items, and then some of these are serious, many of them are just medium, and a few ones are small. And in this one here, some are serious, some are medium, and a larger portion even is small. But as you can see, the few serious items represent the best portion of the value. You see that also very clearly on the inventory exceptions. So there are a few very serious exceptions that represent a lot of the value. If I look for help on the news reporters, I just click on a tile, ask right mouse click, and then you see quite some text. And that is because news reporters themselves are sophisticated animals. They look at number combinations all over your plan, and therefore it contains, or it requires, a few words to explain them. Similarly, this one here has explanations on deviation bigger than a certain percentage, history is increasing and the forecast is decreasing, sales plan value is too high or too low, and then what's the definition of too high, too low? That of course requires some number crunching and calculation in the background. I also spotted that this one has news settings, and as you can see, the deviation can be based on the past 21 weeks, it can be based on a few weeks more, a few weeks less. Whether it's increasing or not increasing can be made more sensitive with the lower trending limit or less sensitive with the higher trending limit. I also see that there is sales plan at the product customer level reporter, which I actually don't see on this page, and that allows me to explain this report. Under the favorites, we have already prepared for the news reporters listing, and that lists just all news reporters available in Outperform Planning. But as you can see, not all of them are enabled. You've not subscribed to all the different news. And the sales plan at product customer level is seen as an opportunity. News reporter has this 1,000 and 10,000 as the lower threshold and the higher threshold. So below 1,000 it's considered small, between 1,000 and 10,000 it's considered medium, and above 10,000 it's considered a serious news item. If I do switch it on, then if I come back to my news, you will see the news page has changed. I have an additional news reporter here on the lower right hand side. Now that news reporter has just woken up, so it needs to go through its first round of detecting, and as soon as it has detected, it also changes place, and that's because the news reporter position on the news page is ranked by value. So the most important news items, just like in the newspapers, are put on top, and the less important from a money perspective are placed somewhere further down. Then stepping into a news reporter, I see I have in total 10 news items. 3 of them are still new, 7 apparently I've already done something with them, and I get this list. And if I get this list, I can drag in that list and see how it all adds up. That's particularly useful for when there are large numbers of news items, and also can do some block decisions on them, saying, oh, these are 6 out of 10, although they are the top one, maybe I should start from the bottom. Those bottom ones I just acknowledge or I ignore, because I decide to only work on my biggest fishes. But with such a limited number of news items like 10, it's probably more appropriate to give each one of them attention. And therefore, let's unacknowledge, let's revert this one a little bit and take a look at the news item for product F791, and it's complaining that the sales values are too high. The average orders per week in the analysis period is 4,000, and the sales plan is above 25,000. And this number relates to that other number. So it's really saying it's really above your limits. It's out of bounds. If I inspect it, you see that this list of news reporters pops out to another window. So after you've inspected this one, you can still inspect the other ones, because the other ones will also bring you to the same report. So it pops out for convenience. And the system brings you to a report that's suitable for inspecting this. It's called the report sales plan analysis, the realization percentage. And the cursor is exactly at the place where this enormous sales plan value is sitting. And indeed, I see 30,000 here. And if I then put this one to the side, scroll back to the history, I can see here that indeed the shipped sales volumes are all about around the 4,000, 3,000 mark, and therefore it's numerically striking situation that suddenly we're going to sell 30,000. Now I can see that the 30,000 is based on 25,000 promotion, so let's assume for now that this promotion was very consciously entered. It's a very ambitious promotion, but let's assume that the thought process behind that promotion was solid, and I now turn this news item into acknowledged. I've looked at the news item, I've given it its business attention, I decide to make no changes. I could have decided to dig into that promotion and make it smaller, but I now decide to acknowledge that this is actually business-wise okay. So much for following up on news items, but there's more to come. If I go back to my news page, I can also take a step at following up on a more data related issue, like the new products to sell. And let's first detect it, make sure it's all fresh. There are in total 6 news items, 4 I've already acknowledged, 1 is new and 1 is in progress. Now what does that mean? I can start a workflow for a news item, and I'm going to start the workflow for the 660. I can see that earlier I had a workflow that I aborted, so I start the workflow and I'm going to properly attend to this new product. And by starting that workflow, I get the guidance that we need to execute a business process. The first thing we need to look at is assigning a forecast strategy. So I click on it or I execute that step. Forecast strategy is going to be controlled in this report, and instead of just giving it the default category, I set it to manual, because I know this 660 Easter Bunny is a funny item and I better take some manual control over the forecasting until it's really settling in. That completes this step, and I go to the next step, activating the product customer. Now I can see that there are already references between products and different customers. So the product may be new, but the data from external has already told us which customers this product is going to be sold to. And maybe, although it's an American product, I could decide that I also want to sell this in Belgium. And in that case, I just activate this combination. And I can also reconfirm that that combination itself is new. And I can even decide to do that in the automatic forecasting strategy. But if I leave this blank, it will just follow the forecast category that I have set for that product F660. What I can also do is decide that this one here it's sold to customers in Dallas, but maybe although it's sold to customers in Dallas, it may still be supplied from Philadelphia, because I find it more easy to have that entire product supplied from Philadelphia until I really know what that product is going to do in the marketplace. So I make changes to this, and that completes this activate item customer or product customer step. Next step is creating the forecast. Forecast is empty. There is quite some sales history, so this product may not be accepted as being truly new, but we're just demoing it. And although it's the manual strategy, I will take a call from the F11, the calling for help from the forecast engine. Forecast engine is doing a decent job on trying to predict it. Let me see in one of the monitors if that looks something. Well, there is some pattern that's been discovered, but this food maze doesn't have any history, so therefore the engine can't be expected to forecast anything. And I set this to like 150 units for the first 4 months, and thereafter maybe doubling up to or increasing to 200. And that's sort of as far as I want to go with this one. I've created my forecast and complete that step. Next one is the consumption strategy, in which I ask myself with the F1 help, what does that mean? I already know what it means. If the product is regularly ordered per week, then the consumption strategy should be set 2 weeks. If it's more of ordered once a month, the full chunk, then I set my consumption type to month. In this case, I leave it to weeks, so that's verified and completed. Now comes the supply side. On the supply side, the data does not look too bad. I already know where it's being made, where it's being bought, and where it's being made again. I even see some order sizes being filled in, so I just quickly validate. A 10-day safety cover seems like a decent idea, so my supply parameters I complete as well. And last but not least, my supply calendar. I see reconfirmed that in all the American warehouses it can be supplied all days of the week. In Europe, the product can be supplied only during weekdays and is not being supplied in the weekend. That may be something subject to change, that in Dallas I take off the Sunday, and then this step is completed as well. And I close this workflow and go back to my news page, detect my news, and then the ones in progress have been reduced to 0, and the ones attended to and acknowledged are in total all out of the way. So in summary, news is there for your operational state of the supply chain, and whenever you give attention to a news item, you potentially make your plan a lot better and you release value. And one level up from news is the dashboard, which gives you sort of the overall state of affairs in the supply chain. And again, see those two concepts as one is the state of the union and the other one is the day-to-day newspaper. That was it, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you.